Hey, Chris. Obviously, Will bounced back really nicely last weekend. Had his roughest start of the year against Ole Miss, and then has one of his best starts against a really good Vanderbilt team. What was it like kind of seeing him do that? 8 strikeouts, and just it ends up being your only win of the weekend, too. So, I mean, really was a really good start for him.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, we needed it, especially going against Jack Leiter. Matching up two of the better arms in the country, and it was a great platform for him. He gets to go out and pitch in front of everybody and compete, and everybody can see him at his best. So probably more proud of him than anything because he really hasn't had a start like the Ole Miss start in his career. Every time he's run out there, he's been pretty successful. So it's fun to watch a guy bounce back and get back out there. I wasn't sure what we were getting, as because like I said, he hadn't been hit much in his career, but we were really pleased with how he pitched.
Just a quick follow up to that. What was the week like going into that start? Obviously, you come off what happened against Ole Miss. It can go either way for a college kid like that, but it seemed like he gathered himself. What did you observe throughout the week leading into the Vandy start?
He's a worker, very meticulous, so he just put his work in. And I think I asked him on Tuesday night, "Hey man, how you doing?" He said, "I'm good, coach." And that's about all our conversation for the whole week. So, like I said, he put his head down, got to work, and did what he had to, and he wasn't sharp against a good offense on a good day to hit, and they got a hold of him. So you live and learn a little bit.
Next, we'll go to Steve Robertson.
Chris, Aggies have not had a great year this year, but it's not a talent situation. I mean, this team is certainly capable of coming here and winning the series. I mean, what are your early impressions of them, and what do you think of them?
Well, I keep, as we're scouting them right now, and that's where everybody's probably in their office looking at scouting reports and film and everything else. They have a good starting rotation, talented, velo, draft picks. They have a really good closer. They have some nice bullpen pieces. You lay the stat sheet down. I told our team, you lay the stat sheet down, and they look very similar to us. It's the ERA, the stolen bases, the fielding percentage, the home runs, the batting average. I mean, there's not a huge difference there. So, they've beaten some really good teams this year. They've beaten Arkansas. They've beaten Texas. They've had success against top 5 teams. So it's definitely in there. So we have to bring our A game and be ready to go.
Next, we'll go to John Sokolov.
Hey, Chris, how would you kind of assess what you've seen from Jackson these last couple of weekends, and what do you really want to see from him this Sunday in terms of kind of taking that next step?
Well, we had the Auburn and the Ole Miss, and I thought he was just okay on both of those starts, and I actually really liked what I saw last week against Vanderbilt. I know he gives up the runs in the 5th, but he got back to having great fastball command, great fastball velocity. Pitched through their lineup really well for 3 innings, and actually would have done 4 if we make a couple plays for him. Just building on last week, I think a little bit. His is fastball command. When he has his fastball and he's aggressive with it, he's really tough to hit.
Next, we'll go to Joel Coleman.
Hey, Chris, I know last weekend you didn't have Brandon available. What's his status going into this weekend, and do you anticipate being able to have him in the mix this weekend out of the bullpen?
I anticipate it. He had a really good bullpen yesterday and felt good. So that's a good positive sign. But you got to wait out today and kind of see how he comes in and talks at practice and how it feels today. So I think that's one of the biggest things. But I guess he had it on Tuesday. So he had a good bullpen. So he came back in, felt good. Everything was good. It wasn't anything major. It just didn't feel right. And coming off the surgery that he had, we're probably a little more passive with it, trying to slow it down for his health's sake. But sounds like he threw really well and should be available this weekend.
Next, we'll go to Theo De Rosa.
Coach, a guy like Carlisle Kessler, what kind of role does he play for this team, and how valuable is his experience coming in last year with the experience that he already had with Hines and Sela?
Yeah, he's experience is his big thing, and he's when he's good, he can mix those 3 pitches, and the changeup can be really, really good. So for us, it's a lot of matchup. There's been some weekends we feel like velo is a little more important. Not that he doesn't throw hard, but there's also weekends we feel like the changeup is a big piece and a guy that can pitch with 3 pitches. And so he gives us the ability to kind of do a couple different things. And for us, a lot of times he's that long guy. If you ever get in trouble and you need a long guy, I think he did it earlier in the year to where he could, he can throw in relief, but he's also got starter type of stuff to where he could pitch for a while.
Quick follow-up. How important was it to land a guy like that when you did last year? Just have a guy that can fill both of those roles?
He was huge. I mean, he's pitched in every role. I mean, he was a closer, I think, at Hines, a starter at Southeast. He's done both for us. He had a huge win last year against Texas Tech. And he's just a veteran guy to have around for our kids.
Next, we'll go back to Steve Robertson.
Coach, you guys are mentioned in connection with everything. A lot of people expect you to get to Omaha, and you've got some guys on your squad, Tanner Allen and Rowdy Jordan and Josh Hatcher, that have never ended a season anywhere other than Omaha, Nebraska. How beneficial is it, with all you guys have to play for, to have some guys that understand what it takes to get there?
Well, it's the message even yesterday was we're not even close to being the team we are. Like, we got to get better, we got to improve, and those guys get that. I think those guys really understand that, especially from their experience in 2018, that there's team, you can't just sit here and say, hey, I fear our kids read that and they think we're going to Omaha, and the young kids don't realize how hard it is to get there, and you got to match up, and building your resume puts you in a better spot against better teams, down the road. And I think our older kids understand that. There's not a lot of sit back and, hey, we've made it mentality. It's been pretty aggressive with our kids.
Quick follow-up on that.
Tanner and them are, they lead that mindset.
That was my follow-up too, with a guy like TA. I mean, arguably your best player is also your hardest worker, and a guy that is kind of the loudest voice in the locker room. Now, how beneficial is it to have a guy like him that has the experience, but also too is still doing it at a high level every weekend?
Yeah, it's you walk the walk, I guess, is the mentality. And the best part for me, because I love him to death, but when you can get on your best player and him handle it, that's a great piece for your program. And I'm able to, as in our tough times, be able to get on guys or talk to guys, and he never backs down from it. There's just a piece of Tanner that he wants to be great, and he knows we got to do more to be great. And he's just, it's a special quality in one of your leaders when you can coach them as hard as anybody in the program.
We'll go to Joel Coleman.
Chris, where do you kind of feel like you're at with left field right now? I know Braylon does some good things for you defensively, and you look at the numbers. I think Brad's hitting 380 something. Just what is it a platoon situation still, just a sheer matchup game by game thing? Just where do you feel like you're at in left field?
It is a platoon, and unfortunately the splits are all over the place in that platoon. So it doesn't always mean one gets left, one gets right. There's velo pieces, there's defensive pieces, there's base running pieces in there, but I think that's pretty much where we're at with those two. Brad has swung it really well of late. I thought his game on Sunday, he had one, I think he was 1 for 1, but 2 walks, and just, and Brad plays good defense too. So I think that was a huge game for Brad, and I've been pretty pleased with where he's been. So Braylon too. Braylon's on the run and learning, and he had a couple good at-bats in that win on Saturday.
Next, we'll go to Robby Folk.
Coach, I know you got these roles that are starting to come to fruition out of the bullpen, and Stone Simmons has thrown a lot this year, but did you learn a little bit about him and how he handled that situation on Friday night against Vanderbilt? That's a really good lineup, and came in there and ate up some innings for you. Did you learn a little bit from him?
Yeah, we did. I mean, he was a veteran guy. He pitched a bunch. I guess I say pitched a bunch. Last year he was a starter for Furman and coming in here with a lot of hype. And then he kind of started slow with us from some injuries. So he's kind of back and healthy, and he was able to follow that game plan that we were wanting last week. And he kind of set the tone for the rest of the righties. The next day it was Bednar and Sims and Fristow, and some of our righties pitched really well and kind of followed the same game plan as him. But, he's becoming a bigger piece. The one thing about Stone is he pounds the zone. And he's got good stuff, but, man, pounding that zone in those situations is huge.
Next, we'll go to Trey Monroe.
Hey, Chris, with this whole new NCAA rule with the host sites coming out May 10th, is there an importance? I mean, obviously you guys are in a good spot now, but is there importance on these next 2 weeks making sure that the momentum stays up to make sure that y'all get that host site?
Well, there's 12 SEC games left. And everyone is, You're fighting to get in the tourney. You're fighting to be a regional host. You're fighting to be a super regional host or national seed. And so, it just, in our world, I don't know if it's able to put more pressure on. We deal with this every year. My first year as I went through it, and you're playing all these great teams, and you just, if you want to be a national seed, you have to win a lot of weekends. And that's what our number one goal here is to be able to host all the way through. And so every game that we play left in conference play is, man, it's a premium, and we never get them back. So the May 10th, or they're adding the teams, and our administration, I know the NCAA would love to have one here because they make money and our people pack the place, and as much as they'll let us pack it. And our administration will do a good job with all the hosting and all that. And then our job's just to win, just to go out and play really well on Friday night and Saturday and Sunday, and try to fill that win column.
And a quick follow-up on that. I mean, has it been explicitly explained to you that these host sites will still be based like they have been in the past on merit and stadium size, or is there anything else with it being, May 10th in the middle of the season?
I think it was, the reason for the May 10th is so that they could start planning on the sites, right? So they're just because of the COVID protocol, we saw it in the basketball world. So I think the May 10th was just to give the people more planning time, the NCAA, the host institutions, what they need to be able to host and deal with these COVID, stipulations that we have. So I don't think it's not as much about competition and competition level. I think it's more about giving people time.
Next, we'll go to Steve Robertson.
Chris, this two-sport athlete thing is a difficult thing, and I know that Brad's made the most of it. But has he ever talked to you about maybe being a full-time football player or baseball player? I mean, when you have those conversations, I mean, he's a guy that obviously doesn't get the benefit of a lot of summer and fall reps. But has he ever spoke to you about maybe next year focusing on one sport?
What's funny is when Brad's in the fall, he's a football player and he loves it and he wants to be a part of it. And then when he's here in the spring, you kind of get the baseball side of it. So and I found that with every two-way guy I've ever had, they're so into their seasons. Now, that doesn't include the summer two-a-days. I'm not sure if those guys like two-a-days in football, but everything else, I mean, he enjoys that piece of it too. And they switched him over to defense. He's been excited. He was able to get to a couple practices this spring. So I think he's locked in to be a two-way guy. He's very appreciative. Coach Leach and his staff have been great. And, working with us. We had an injury or two in the spring, and he's supposed to go to a practice and let Brad come over. This coaching staff's been great to work with, and other ones have been too, but they've, they embrace that a little bit. And we have some other guys like this coming down the road. So hopefully, it lays a good path for the next guys.
And speaking of kind of working with the staff, I mean, every time we go to a ball game, those assistant coaches from football and Mike Leach and everybody are out there at the ball game. I mean, what does that mean to you guys? That it is really one family and they support you guys with their attendance.
Well, it's a big, it's a community. And I think as you get into this community on a Friday night, it feels like the whole town. If you wanted to rob somebody, you could probably rob somebody on Friday night here in town because it's everybody's at the ballpark. And I think they've jumped right in with it. And their staff's great. Man, we play golf together, hang out together. Like a lot of the staffs, not just football on campus. So it's just part about being in a small town and a SEC community. That's kind of some of the neat things about it. I've enjoyed that part of it.
All right, we'll go to Robby Folk, and then we'll give the final question to Trey.
Coach, expounding on that two-sport guy conversation you were just having, how much do you look at that when you're recruiting players? I know before you got here, TA, I think, played quarterback. I think Rowdy might have played football. And you got guys on this roster that played a lot of football and guys coming in next year and beyond that were, football, baseball, basketball guys. Does that intrigue you a little more to find a guy that can be versatile like that? And what's your thoughts on that when recruiting guys?
First of all, I don't think Rowdy played a lot of football because we give him a hard time. So I think Dad played football. So
maybe I was thinking of somebody else.
And Brad give him a hard time all the time about it. I think he played as a freshman or something. But I like the football guys. There's a toughness. There's a physicality. The ability to be coached, a little tougher at times. I mean, I like those type of guys. We have a lot of them coming in. I think we have multiple quarterbacks that got football offers coming in, and guys that played some different sports. So, and actually have a football player, another one coming in. Sawyer Robertson's coming in. So I like it. It's a little tough this level, when you have to be the two-way guy because of time. But the other guys like a Tanner Allen, the football side, you see it come out. He plays the game a little bit different than most guys, and it could be basketball, it could be anything. I've had some really good soccer players, over time. I think they said Tanner Leggett was a really good soccer player back in the day. So, it's just different guys, but playing different sports. I like that side of it.
And Trey, you can wrap us up.
Yeah, Chris, someone kind of mentioned it earlier, talking about how you have all these guys that have Omaha experience. I guess from your perspective in 2019, as opposed to now, how much this time of year is it about, not only playing to win, but also playing to make sure your team is playing at its best, going into Hoover, going into the regionals and setting up the pitching and all that stuff?
Well, that's a big piece of it. I mean, we talked and we've had 3 practices this week. Well, today will be our 3rd. And you're trying to, the practices aren't super long because you want to keep guys fresh. You're wanting to, I think Coach Foxall's done a great job with our pitching staff for the most part this year. Is we haven't had to extend innings and things like that, because I think over this last month to 6-8 weeks, it is who's fresh and who's playing good at this time of year is huge. And so we're spending a lot of time, in the weight room and rehabbing and taking care of our bodies and trying to get ready for this last run. You want to be hot at the end of the year. And, man, we've had a good season, but we want a great finish. And that's been kind of the mindset of this group.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good day.